The keys felt cold in my hand, colder than the late autumn air. It was a house I hadn't seen since childhood, my great-aunt's place. It smelled of dust and time and forgotten things, but it was free, and free was all I could afford. My savings were a ghost, my job prospects even more so. This old house, with its peeling paint and overgrown garden, was a lifeline. I told myself the creaks and groans were just the house settling. It was an old house after all. That's what old houses do. The first week was a blur of unpacking boxes and wiping away layers of grime. I was tired, bone tired, the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your soul. I'd fall into bed and sleep a dead, dreamless sleep, only to wake up feeling like I hadn't rested at all. I started noticing small things. A teacup ID left on the kitchen counter would be on the bookshelf in the living room. I'd blame my exhaustion, my cluttered mind. Of course, I moved it, I just didn't remember. Then came the sounds. Not the loud, startling noises you expect in a horror story. These were quiet, gentle sounds. The soft click of a door latch in the middle of the night. A floorboard sighing upstairs when I was downstairs. A faint, rhythmic tapping from inside the walls of my bedroom, almost like a slow, patient heartbeat. I'd hold my breath and listen, but it would always stop the moment I focused on it. I checked the pipes, the wiring, everything. There was never any explanation. Smell started in the second month. It was faint at first, a strange, sweet, and slightly musty odor, like old paper and dried flowers. It came and went, strongest in the hallway by the linen closet. Sometimes, I'd come home from a walk, and the smell would be waiting for me, a silent greeting. It made the hair on my arms stand up. It felt like a presence, an invisible signature left in the air. One night, a storm rolled in, knocking out the power. The house went pitch black, silent except for the rain drumming against the windows. One lit a few candles, their small flames dancing and throwing long, distorted shadows on the walls. I was sitting in the living room, trying to read by candlelight, when I saw it. A soft, yellow light glowed from under the door to the spare bedroom upstairs. My heart hammered against my ribs. I hadn't been in that room for weeks. The power was out. There was no reason for a light to be on. I sat there, frozen, for what felt like an hour, staring at that thin line of light. When I finally worked up the courage to go upstairs, the light was gone. The room was cold and empty. The feeling of being watched became constant. It was a pressure at the back of my neck, a prickling on my skin. I'd be washing dishes and feel an intense stare from the darkened doorway. I'd turn quickly, but there was never anyone there. I started talking to myself, just to fill the suffocating silence. It felt like the house was listening, learning my habits, my fears. 2. It knew I checked the locks 3 times before bed. It knew I always left the hallway light on. It knew I was alone, and it was feeding on my loneliness. My self-doubt grew into a chasm. Was I losing my mind? Distress, the isolation needs had to be taking its toll. My friends, when I bothered to call them, would listen patiently and then suggest I get more sleep. Nay, see a doctor? They didn't understand. How could they? To them it was just an old house. To me, it was becoming a carefully constructed prison for my sanity. The breaking point came on a quiet Tuesday morning. I dropped a spoon, and it rolled under the old heavy sideboard in the dining room. Grumbling, I got on my hands and knees to retrieve it. As I reached under, my fingers brushed against something that wasn't the wall. It was a loose floorboard. Curiosity, for the first time in months, overpowered my fear. I pried it up. Underneath was a small, hollow space. And inside, there was a notebook. It was a simple spiral notebook, filled with neat, looping handwriting. My blood ran cold as I read the first page. It was dated a week after I moved in. She seems nice, it read. Quiet. She likes her tea with honey. She hums when she's nervous. I flipped through the pages, my hands trembling. It was a detailed log of my entire life in that house. My sleep schedule, the food I ate, the phone calls I made, the times I cried. The shows I watched, the sound of my breathing as I slept. The teacup moved wasn't my tired mind. It was him. The light during the power outage. He was in the walls, in the crawl spaces, in the parts of the house I never used. It was living alongside me, a silent, invisible roommate. Near the back of the notebook, I found a loose sheet of paper. It looked like a letter addressed to me. I hope you don't mind, it began. I was here first. This house has always been good at keeping secrets, and so have I. People who learn to be quiet can live anywhere. I didn't want to disturb you. You have a right to your space, and I have a right to mine. I thought we could share. The politeness was the most terrifying part. There was no anger, no threat. Just a calm, matter-of-fact statement from a man who believed he belonged here, hidden in the shadows of my life. I didn't scream. I didn't call the police. I calmly put the notebook down, walked out the front door, got in my car, and drove away. I left everything behind. I live in a new apartment now, a small, modern place on the 3rd floor. There are no old walls, no dark corners, no strange smells. But I still hear things. A soft click in the quiet of the night. A faint scratching sound that stops the moment I try to find it. I check the locks 4 times now, because the man in the walls taught me something I can never unlearn. Some people learn to live so quietly, so invisibly that you'd never know they were there. And they never really go away. You just stop seeing them. Thanks for listening. Follow for more stories that will keep you up at night. Sleep.